Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I am joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendale. Now, I think the People's Champ needs to have some Gooder sunglasses. Love these Gooder sunglasses. I just got back from a vacation a couple weeks ago, and I got to say, my friends, the pictures were looking good thanks to Gooder. And we can get you guys a good deal, free shipping. I love Gooder sunglasses. Seriously, I love these. Mine I have here, I've got a few pair, but these are Operation Blackout. They name all of their sunglasses. Like my wife was wearing hers yesterday. Amelia Earhart ghosted me. She looked great. So why Gooder? Well, they're stylish sunglasses that start at just $25. No slip, no bounce, all polarized, all fun. They come with a 1-year warranty, 30-day free returns. They also have a new product launch, the Retro G. So you can check them out at gooder.com. As always, these won't slip or bounce. The Retro Gs are available in 4 colors. Our favorite name of the bunch, Threaten Me with a Good Time. I love all their names. What makes Gooder unique, different, and better? Well, I mean, they're great for running, cycling, golfing, going to the beach, hiking, you name it. Now is the perfect time to get them in time for your summer vacations or activities, or for Big Ten media days, or for the upcoming football season, whatever you want to do. Because they're so affordable, I never worry about losing them or breaking them. If you want to support the show and try a pair, Gooder is giving Bucknuts listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. All right, let's get to it. It's going to be a fun show. We got a lot to get into. Max, how you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing well today. It's beautiful. It's midsummer. It's the week the NCAA football game comes out, so I don't know how you couldn't be doing well.
Yeah, everybody, that's all the rage. I got to upgrade my console so I can get down with some NCAA football for the first time in ages. I used to play that back in Morrill Tower in at Ohio State with my roommates. We'd have some knockdown, drag-out fights over that, no doubt about it. All right, so open the floor for some questions from our Bucknuts subscribers. Foxr 2001 checked in with some questions. Let's start with that. So he asks, he says the NCAA messed up NIL in his opinion. He said it's not really NIL. Guys aren't doing commercials. Some are, but you know what I mean. Guys, it's not. It was supposed to be guys would like sign autographs or go do some appearances and stuff like that. It's really pay for play is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Anything be done to fix this is what he's asking. What do you think?
It has to be done at a congressional level is the problem. The thing is that in the United States of America, we are legally allowed to work hard and get ahead and use our abilities to make money. It's called capitalism, right? So all these systems that have been in place prior to this have honestly been sort of un-American, and every time they've ended up in court, they've been deemed illegal. So for you to have control over a system like this, to be able to change it in a way that maybe aligns more with what we're used to seeing in the traditional college football model, at the end of the day, it's going to have to be legislated in a fashion that makes it, have guardrails. You can have some NCAA guidance. You can certainly do that. But this is something that, remember whenever TACgate happened and we all were like, they're selling their own stuff. How is that illegal? It's the same situation now. We have no way to deny this in many ways. It's just the market acting at the end of the day. And that's, to me, I think the most critical part of this whole conversation is that, once you've opened Pandora's box, you can't really put it back in. And we're sort of at that point now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think anything can be done. I agree with you. Like, to answer Foxr's 2001's question, yeah, I think, as you said, I mean, you're putting the genie back in the bottle at this point. I mean, the NCAA really is feckless. They can't do anything about this. So, I mean, I agree with his point that this is not really NIL. It's pay for play, but that's what it is. It's not changing. And if you're an Ohio State fan, which I think all of you are, maybe we've got a couple of trolls in here. Who knows? Welcome, trolls. This is working out pretty well for Ohio State, wouldn't you say, Bax? NIL?
Yeah, you couldn't ask. Honestly, that's the thing. It's not like we're a school that's struggling here. You know, your heartstrings may be pulling for the good old days of yore, but at the end of the day, it is 100% going to be good for Ohio State. How many other schools are traditional superpowers that have enormous alumni bases that are located in massive cities, with this being the #1 show? I can't think of a city in the country that's bigger where college football is the #1 gig compared to Columbus, Ohio. Columbus is bigger than Austin. Austin's the only one I can think of that has it a similar profile where there's no pro team. Every other major city in the country that you might have a school located in has NFL, has whatever. Columbus is unique. I'd argue Ohio State is the best positioned school in the country for NIL because of all of those factors. So if you're an Ohio State fan, I don't know if you want this to change because it helps you that you're allowed to do this.
All right, Bax, did you know that you had more rushing yards last year than Kyle McCord?
I believe Kyle McCord had negative rush yards last year,
Did.
didn't he?
That is correct. He had negative. Now, listen, I am not a fan of how the NCAA does their stats with rushing yards for quarterbacks. They
Yeah,
count
where sacks count as
right. They should do it like the
lost rush
NFL
yards.
does.
That
Yeah,
shouldn't count.
they should do it like the NFL does, right? Still, Kyle McCord had negative 65 rushing yards last year. Negative 65 rushing yards last year. Okay. Will Howard had 351 positive rushing yards. Okay. Will Howard, as a true freshman in the COVID year, had a 364 rushing yards. Okay. Now, I mean, when you're a quarterback and you have no threat to run at all, that's a gift to the defense. Just having that threat. Will Howard's not going to be Justin Fields. Okay. Obviously he's not going to be out there. He's not going to be Braxton Miller, you name it. But I tell you what, he is at least a threat to run. That's going to keep the defense honest, and he's going to pick up some, I won't even call them cheap first downs, big first downs with his legs, and just not just first downs. He's going to be picking up yards. So going from, negative 65 rushing yards to, if he has similar to what he had last year, which I bet he will, right around 350, nothing crazy. That's a big boost to this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's a significant element that can be added, because how many times do we see Kyle McCord sitting in a pocket and there's a ton of space and you're like, run, just pick up the 10 yards. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. JT Barrett back in the day used to call it picking up the change. At the end of the day, I know you want to throw the ball if you're some of these quarterbacks, but you have to be situationally aware in the game. If you roll out to your side and, you have the entire flat open to run up and pick up 8-9 yards and get out of bounds, there's almost no point in time that's not a good play. You should be going and taking those yards. If it's first down and we're dropping back and the pass rushers blow by you and you can run up the middle and get 8 yards and slide, do it. Why wouldn't you? And I think Kyle McCord just was utterly unwilling to do so. So at the end of the day, I think it's an entirely new element that, frankly, in the world of college football, I think you need that running quarterback element. It's very rare now to have the sort of stay-in water buffalo types that don't go anywhere whenever they drop back. And I think that this is going to be a big addition for Ohio State in terms of just being tougher to game plan. Because you ask any college football coach, any football coach at any level, what's the hardest thing to game plan for? It's when the quarterback takes off and runs. That is the hardest thing to game plan for, because they can game plan, and call a defense for a variety of set run plays, for a variety of passing plays, for even RPO stuff, right? But at the end of the day, they have to have a decision point eventually. And if you have a quarterback that can make that guy make the decision point the opposite direction, then you have to go. And then that's a big, big benefit. So I think this is something that we needed last year, and I'm happy to say that we'll probably have this year.
So the question specifically was, what numbers roughly does Will Howard need to achieve for Ohio State to achieve their goals this year? I don't think he needs to do anything crazy. I think so, so last year McCord had 3,170 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The stats look good, but then you look at the advanced metrics. I mean, he had so many open receivers. He was thrown to a guy named Marvin Harrison Jr., who was pretty good. You look at the advanced metrics for Will Howard, he wasn't thrown to that many wide open receivers. So what does Will Howard need to do for Ohio State to achieve its goals? In my opinion, I'll get Bax's thoughts on this too. I think right around for the entire season, because McCord didn't play in the bowl game, and hopefully the Buckeyes are going to have multiple postseason games this year. I think they will. I think right around 3,500 yards, completion percentage around 67%. I'm going with about 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, about 350 rushing yards, 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns, right around there. He doesn't need to do anything crazy, especially when you got Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. But he's going to put up good stats this year. Nothing crazy, but that's right around where I think he needs to be, Bax. What do you think?
I think you're 100% on point. At the end of the day, you don't have to go out and, have a guy like Will Howard win the season for you, right? What you need this year is you need to have all the weapons that you have put in a position to succeed. And, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the advanced metrics as related to Kyle McCord. He put up pretty numbers, but at the end of the day, he's on a wildly more talented team. And OSU's schedule last year wasn't really that hard. They had a couple big games in which McCord struggled, and that was it. And you got to give him credit for the comeback against Notre Dame. But the only reason we had to come back against Notre Dame was because he was objectively not very good up to that point in the game.
Right.
So, I'm happy that he pulled that out of his where, but he tried the same thing against Michigan after being objectively not so good the whole game, and it bit him. So I think this year for Will Howard, what Will Howard needs to do is put his running backs in position to succeed by making sure that he's hitting open receivers, that he's staying calm and providing a presence of a veteran, and just making some plays. He doesn't have to do everything. It doesn't have to be Justin Fields meets Braxton Miller meets C.J. Stroud all in one. He just has to be Will Howard, because Will Howard is way better than what Kyle McCord was. And I think all you need to know about Kyle McCord is if Kyle McCord was really the elite passer that the numbers would argue that maybe he was, he wouldn't have ended up at Syracuse. He'd have ended up at a much bigger time program looking at him as a one-year NFL kind of guy. Ohio State wouldn't have ran him off. Instead, Kyle McCord was the guy that Ryan Day at halftime of the Penn State game told the Buckeye Radio Network that we had wide open receivers and Kyle just has to hit them. And I've never heard that, and I bring this up all the time because I've never heard that from a coach at any level going, we're fine. Our quarterback sucks. That's essentially what Ryan Day was saying.
Right.
Like, that's essentially what he was saying.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, bro,
have
like
you
seen
seen
this guy? I don't know what
John L. Smith.
Like that's exactly what it was. So just don't be that, and we'll be fine this year.
It was the opposite of John L. Smith, I should say, right? Like,
yeah,
the players are playing well, and the coaches are screwing it up. Like, Day was like, the coaches are designing this perfectly. Our quarterback is screwing it up. You're right.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
How many times did they zoom in on Ryan Day's face, and he was like, you could read his lips. He goes, Kyle, what are you doing? Right. Like, you could tell Ryan Day thought he stunk the whole year. And then this is a guy that almost got us undefeated through the season. So that tells you what kind of like Ryan Day's too nice of a guy to come out and go, yeah, Kyle McCord was absolutely terrible, right? But I think Ryan Day in a quiet moment with somebody would probably go, we really should have taken J.J. McCarthy.
God. All right, let's not even talk about that. Okay, he's allowed one mulligan since he discovered C.J. Stroud when he had Jack Miller already in the class. He's like, who's this 3-star? He went, I'm gonna check him out. Then he was a 4-star, then he was a 5-star. All right. Brighton Buck has a question. When the Buckeyes go with the base 4-2-5 defense, he said he's hearing some rumors that it's actually going to be Sonny Styles at will next to the middle linebacker Cody Simon, not necessarily CJ Hicks, although CJ Hicks did take the majority of the reps with the first team during the spring. Bax, you buying Sonny Styles as a starting will, CJ Hicks as a starting will, or do you think it really doesn't matter because they're going to rotate?
I think they're going to rotate, if I'm being completely honest. But I also think that, let's face it, Sonny Styles has been on the field a lot, and he's a kid that has a lot more experience in terms of, major, serious, significant minutes compared to CJ Hicks. So I've always thought Styles would be the one who got the more playing time once we realized we were switching him to linebacker. That's just where we knew he was going to grow into anyways. But yeah, I think there's going to be a rotation this year for sure. I won't be surprised one bit. But at the end of the day, I'm very interested to see what ends up happening with it because we have a lot of good young linebackers that are going to need to get on the field this year, and we didn't really rotate enough last year. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be a bit of more of an emphasis this year.
I'm looking for good problem to have. You got two. Who's going to be the starting will? We got 2 third-year former 5 stars to pick from. Okay, life is good. Life is good. Okay, so another question from Fox R 2001. This is a pretty easy one in my opinion. Will either freshman running back redshirt? Hell no. Not when you got 4 scholarship running backs. I mean, James Peoples, there's no way he's going to redshirt. I thought Sam Williams-Dixon might before TC Caffey was lost for this season.
Yeah.
But, there's no way any of the running backs are going to redshirt, and either the 2 freshman running backs will redshirt.
Especially with all the junk time we're going to have in games this year, it won't surprise me one iota if you don't want to have Q and Trey out there in the fourth quarter when you're up 40 points on Michigan State. Like, that's a bad idea. Like, you want those guys to be healthy. You want to kind of limit their reps for the ones that matter. And then you need to get Peoples and you need to get Williams-Dixon out there to be able to actually get some of that game experience. I mean, that's super valuable for these younger guys to be able to get on the field as freshmen, so they're not as nervous whenever they get to be the front runners. And let's face it, Trey and Q are in the NFL this time next year. So, you need to get those guys experience. There's no question about it whatsoever. And it's a shame about TC Caffey. That sucks. I was really hoping to get to see more for him. He's one of those proverbial, like, that guy should be on scholarship kind of guys when you see him. And it just sucks that he tore his ACL. He would have been having the opportunity to play a lot this year.
All right, we have a new sponsor for the show, Babbel. You want to learn a new language?
Yes.
And Bax is a Babbel customer. You're fluent in now what? French? There you go. This is amazing. Right, let me do my read, and I can't believe I should just have Bax do the read, but I'll do it.
Je suis mais entrant avec Babel et mon français c'est simplement ressemble. Nous avons voyagé à Québec et j'ai parlé avec tout le monde.
See, there you go. So when Bax's son is playing for the Montreal Canadiens, he'll just be able to go up there and speak fluent French thanks to Babbel. All right, my friends. Now, this is proven like 1 in 5 Americans have learn a new language on their bucket list. All right, so 20% of us want to learn a new language. All right, so if that's you, make 2024 the year you finally check it off the list with Babbel, Babbel, Babbel. Bax used it. Now he can speak fluent French. Fast forward to the end of 2024. Think of your goals. What can you do right now to give yourself the best chance of succeeding? If you want to learn a new language, you absolutely should get Babbel. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the real language. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Studies from Yale University and others continue to prove Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester of college. All right, here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/bucknuts. Again, get 60% off at babbel.com/bucknuts. That's spelled BABBEL.com/bucknuts. Rules and restrictions may apply. Bax, how great is Babbel?
So I will say that I have learned a lot on it. I got to give it a lot of credit. So I had a couple years of French in middle school, and last year I went to Quebec City with my son for the International Pee Wee tournament, and I wanted to make sure I could speak bad French at least to be able to communicate. And to be honest, it was a really great experience. I spent 5 months maybe before the trip kind of digging into it. And I was able to, so my son stayed with a family up there, and the mom didn't really speak confidently in English. And so I was able to speak normally with her. And granted, I sounded like a dumb American speaking French because the accent part's always tough to pick up, but it definitely worked. And having German as well on my repertoire. I lived there for a couple of years. I speak the language. I'll every now and then hop on there and just kind of click through a couple lessons just to kind of refresh my vocabulary. There's a visual component to it as well. And I honestly learned a lot with Babbel. And I actually bought the lifetime the lifetime Babbel membership, which gives me access to every language that they have on the platform, and my kids are using it too. So if you want to learn another language, I couldn't recommend it more because it legitimately worked for me.
This is awesome. That's just worked out perfectly having you on the show when we have Babbel.
Je suis un grand fan pour le app Babbel.
So you make up for me. You
being
being trilingual makes it. Like I need to get with it, and I'm going to. Like I can speak a little bit of Spanish. Emphasis on un poco. But the fact that you're trilingual, that makes up for the rest of us at Bucknuts who are solo lingual. We're gonna lean on Bax when people are saying
monolingual.
You guys are stupid sports writers. Like, yeah, well, Bax isn't though. He's an engineer and he's trilingual. All right. All right.
I'm still stupid though. Don't you worry.
Yeah. No, you're not. No, you are not, my friend. Mika, let's get to this question because this kind of piggybacks on what we were talking about earlier. She asked, are we going to get a look at Rashid Cisse this season with TC Caffey out for the season? For those who don't know, I think most of you know, Rashid Cisse, preferred walk-on, runner-up for Mr. Football, played small school football last year throughout his high school career, West Muskingum High School. But this kid, I mean, he tore it up on both sides of the ball, on special teams, you name it. I mean, he ran the ball, he received the ball, he played a little quarterback, he played defensive back, he returned kicks. Now, the problem is, he's going to be a true freshman. He's probably going to come in here about 185 pounds. But, yeah, I mean, for we're talking emergency situations, I think he could, he's definitely going to play running back this year. In my opinion. And then Caleb Downs might be sprinkled in there. So, yeah, I think we're going to see Rashid Cisse a little bit this year.
I don't want to see a snap at Caleb Downs at linebacker or running back. I don't want to see a single snap.
You better tell
football let him return punts. No way. Now, Cisse, by the way, two things on him. One was the last time a Zanesville kid ended up getting to be part of Ohio State football. I mean, that's pretty fun to me to see it. I don't remember last time I had a Zanesville guy. And then second of all, some of these one-sided affairs may be very one-sided very early, right? Or God forbid one of the top two guys picks up a knock and all of a sudden that's probably Peoples will be the third running back. But whoever the third guy is, you want to keep him, kind of healthier. So you're going to probably pull him a little sooner. And that to me means I bet you see Cisse in there. I won't be surprised one bit if he has the football a lot more. I bet you he has carries this year. Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
I was just about to look this up. Yeah, Buster Howe, John Gorby coming through. Buster Howe was from Zanesville.
What year was Buster Howe?
I believe he was the first winner of the Mr. Football Award. Speaking of Cisse being runner-up, I believe Buster Howe was the first ever winner of – producer, can you look that up for me? Sure, I will. Listen, Ohio Mr. Football Award winner. I believe Buster Howe was the first ever. Because I remember calling him.
Buster Howe was at Ohio State.
Buster Howe was the first one.
1990.
1987, Buster Howe was the first ever Ohio Mr. Football Award winner from Zanesville.
Yeah, he graduated from OSU. It says here from business degree in 1990. So good for him. Way before my time.
I barely remembered that too.
That's 35 years between Zanesville guys. Wow.
I loved Ohio State football even in 87, but Buster Howe didn't make much of a impact at Ohio State. But being Mr. Football, and by the way, the next 2 years was won by Robert Smith, 88 and 89. Euclid's Robert Smith won Mr. Football. Then the next year, 1990, Bobby Hoying won Mr. Football. So there's your first 4 years of the Ohio Mr. Football Award. Shout out to Buster Howe. Shout out to Robert Smith and Bobby Hoying. There you go. All right. Moving right along here. Let's get to some recruiting backs. You and I have not done a show here in a while. Your vibes on David Sanders. Do you think the Buckeyes will land David Sanders?
I don't have a super duper warm and fuzzy feeling on this. There's a lot of smoke about Tennessee. He's from the South. Knoxville is closer to home. There's no question about that. I believe he's from the Charlotte area. So that's certainly a factor against Ohio State here. It seems like the Nebraska thing keeps popping up every now and then, and it kind of is like, So to answer Eric's question as to what percentage do you give us in getting David Sanders, I give us a 33.33% chance of getting him. I'm not as optimistic as everyone else here is, guys. And I got to be honest, part of that lack of optimism comes from the fact that I need to have Justin Fry has not built his trust bank very high with me when it comes to landing some of these high-end offensive linemen outside of the state of Ohio. And I know that Sanders has been the priority, and I certainly want us to land him, but I'm going to need to see it to believe it.
Yeah, we have a question. Was TC Caffey Mr. Football? He was not. He was not. He had a heck of a senior. He had a heck of a career. He had one of the best seasons in Ohio high school football history. Who was the let's not have this up anyway. Let's see who was the Mr. Football Award winner the year that TC came out. Oh, it was Drew Aller. Drew Aller was the year. I think TC was a finalist. I think it was a lot like Rashid Cisse. He didn't win it, but I believe he was one of the finalists, maybe the runner-up. It doesn't say who the runner-up was here, but Drew Aller, obviously currently Ohio, Penn State's quarterback, was the Mr. Football Award winner in 2001. All right. Man, 33%. Come on. Give me at least 50. I'm feeling good about it. I'm going like 60%.
I'm glad you're that confident, man. I'm glad you're that confident.
I'm not like, I mean, if I was really confident, it'd be higher than that. But yeah, I mean, like, come on. Now I feel the people's champ saying 33.3%, that gives me a little trepidation here.
You know, at the end of the day, this fits the exact profile of the recruits we've been losing. That's the problem. It's an out-of-state kid at a position that we have not busted as many NFL guys out in the last 6, 7, 8 years with a coach that hasn't landed as many of these elite prospects. And I'd love for it to happen, but I don't necessarily feel like great about it right now. That's simple. I just don't feel great about it. Tennessee's got a lot of money to throw around too, guys. Knoxville. Remember I talked earlier about how Columbus fits the profile really well of a school that's going to do well at NIL. Knoxville is the exact same way, except a smaller city. Knoxville has like 800,000, 1 million people. I think Kane, the pro wrestler, is their mayor, right? So and that's the only game in Knoxville is Tennessee football. So there's a lot of NIL money for Tennessee too. Then it's half the distance from Charlotte compared to Columbus. So yeah, I get it, guys. We all think Ohio State's a better football program, but Tennessee football is still dangerous in a recruitment like this. Very dangerous. I don't necessarily buy the Nebraska hype that seems to be popping up and down a little bit here and there. That seems silly to me. But Tennessee, to me, is the school to beat. And I hope I'm wrong. And maybe there's a long time to go. He's not announcing for what, a month from now, I think, almost exactly. So
exactly a month from today, yeah, 2 weeks before.
Yeah, and we've all seen that how college football recruiting does this with NIL, just serpentine every direction. So you never know what's going to happen.
We got Bucknutters all over the map here. Eric on Facebook. Sanders is not coming. Tyler on YouTube. He's 100% confident the Buckeyes will get Sanders. I love it. And Rick just is being, hey, Rick's just saying, just give him the bag.
I think they're trying to give him the bag, Rick.
They are.
The question is,
we'll get a bag.
Does also have a big bag?
Oh, we're not talking McDonald's bags anymore, my friends.
There's no more McDonald's bags in Tennessee.
You can fit a lot of money in a McDonald's bag, actually. I shouldn't say that. I mean, who hasn't stuffed a bunch of $100 bills in a McDonald's bag in their life?
You know,
Orlando Pace Pro line coach. I bet Big O is retired with millions in the bank, millions upon millions, multi-millions. I don't think he's going to want to do that, but who knows?
Not everybody's James Laurinaitis or Brian Hartline that makes millions in the NFL and goes, I should coach now and work really, really long hours. A lot of them go, cool, where's the beach?
And Orlando Pace I'm not joking, has the argument of being the best football player ever at Ohio State. Seriously.
I thought you were just going to say ever, because I can't think of a better offensive lineman.
Ever, a best player ever at Ohio State, period, when you think about it. He finished 4th for the Heisman as an offensive lineman. He won the Lombardi twice, the Outland twice. He was the #1 overall pick of the draft.
They invented a stat just for him.
All-pro pretty much every year. He led the way for Eddie George's Heisman season. I mean, the guy was started from day one at left tackle and was good as a true threat, very good. You could really argue that he is the best player in Ohio State football history, and I don't say that lightly.
They invented a stat just for him.
Thank you.
Pancake blocks exist because of Orlando Pace. That is a normal, long-standing stat of your block goes guy on the ground. that is literally made up for his Heisman campaign. There was magnets with pancake stacks.
Yes.
I would make the argument that Orlando Pace is in the conversation, the best football player ever from anywhere.
Woo! I didn't even think about that. Like now we're getting into like Jim Brown territory. I love
Jim Thorpe territory, right?
I mean, his resume is unbelievable. And then
Name a better offensive lineman.
I love that you brought up pancake blocks too, and that the magnet, because Ohio. For those who don't know, Ohio State had a Heisman campaign. Like Steve Snap was the SID. They sent out magnets to media and fans that had Orlando stacking pancakes. It was literally a picture of Orlando with a bunch of pancakes that he was stacking. And it's like, yeah, I almost forgot that is where that stat was invented. Was Orlando Pace, really his sophomore year of 1995. Then they brought it into 1996, his junior year and final year at Ohio State. By the way, a great guy too, Orlando Pace. Great human. All right, let me ask you this. We've had some questions about this too. So Na'eem Offord is looking around, okay? But he got on Twitter and said there's nothing to it. I think the Buckeyes, I trust in Tim Walton. And I think Na'eem Offord's still going to be a Buckeye. But what's your take on that, Bax?
Anytime you have a kid from the South, there's always going to be chatter until his name is signed. That's just that simple. And especially a kid like Offord that's having fun with it. At the end of the day, he's visiting Auburn. He's saying nice things about them. He's getting that free trip to Oregon. Look, the kid's enjoying the process at this point. Is it possible? Absolutely. Southern recruits are Southern recruits, man. If you've watched this for 20 years, like you and I have, you know how this goes. You just know how this goes. At the end of the day, though, I don't necessarily think that he's like, I would put more money on keeping Offord than I would on landing Sanders, just to give my perspective on it. I think this is a guy who made a decision to come to a place that he knows has an excellent system to send guys to the NFL. He's part of a class with another elite cornerback, in Sanchez. A lot of things to me make sense as to why he would go to Ohio State and not flip, even being an Alabama kid. So at the end of the day, do I wish we had an early signing period next month? That'd be great. Sure, absolutely. You want to lock in these kids as best as you can, but I'm not that. There's going to be chatter around him nonstop because everybody just is going to look at the profile of it and go, Southern kid committed to Northern school taking visits. I'm not so sure that I'm that worried about it. I think he's just enjoying the process, and that's his right to do so.
Dietrich says they're not moving to Columbus. This is Devin's journey. She says, I'll be there when he needs me. I'm a flight away. That's perfect. The Sanchez family, I absolutely love it. You got my buddy Adrian LeBlanc in here, Michigan fan, saying 1,691 days.
Is that since they quit in 2020? And
that bill is coming due, my friend. It's my high school friend, Adrian LeBlanc, everybody. Other than being a Michigan fan, he's actually not a bad guy. His son's a good athlete.
They quit?
Which makes up for his father, who was not a good athlete at all. I think it was. By the way, what was Ohio State's record against Michigan from 2001 to 2019? Oh, was it 17-2?
Yes.
Woo!
It should be 18-2 for that forfeit COVID year.
It's going to be so much fun.
I mean, let's be real here. They like to have this little spell of theirs, and it's like, well, you quit 1 year. That's a forfeit, and if you had played, Harbaugh would have been fired, and then you cheated the next couple of years. So you don't have any non-asterisk wins, pretty much going all the way back to 2003, because their 2011 win was the year that Luke Fickell was the interim coach. So you've either cheated or played an interim coach for all of your wins since 2003. So cool. Way to go.
Got a Beaver Creek guy in here talking smack. That's all right. Like I said, other than him being a Michigan fan, Adrian's not a terrible guy. He's going to be very, very, very sad on November 30th. Very sad. We're going to be happy. Tune in for what we learned live right after that game. Everybody, Michigan fans especially, make sure you tune in. A lot of Michigan fans listened to last year's show for some reason. Make sure you guys listen to this year's show. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see the fullback you guys have at quarterback. It's going to be so much fun. All right, great stuff from Bax.
Great
Great stuff from all of you guys. Appreciate it. even the Michigan fan we have in here. Again, great stuff from Bax. Read his column every Sunday. It is must-read material. It is the bucket. Thanks to all of you. Really appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.